Let's dive into the Florida February housing market update. If you're new here, my name is Chelsea Winstead. I'm a home financing strategist and a mortgage broker. I think it's really important that as people are navigating the home buying process, they understand what is going on in the local places that they are looking to buy. Florida is one of the top states that I help clients in, and I'm going to dive in and we're going to talk through for a couple cities here. We're going to talk about average home price, days on market, amount of inventory currently available, list versus sale ratio, and then what is like essentially going on in the market. Is it going to be considered a buyer's or a seller's market? Okay. So let's dive into Tampa. Average home price in Tampa is $448,000. This is actually up about 9.1% year over year. So we have seen this continue to go up, even though actually a lot of places in Florida are struggling. Tampa is still a bit of a hot market. Days on market, though, are about 68 days. As of today, there are 3,453 homes actively for sale in the Tampa area. Now, list versus sale ratio is about 95.5%. So that means that 4.5% are homes that are selling under the list price. Okay. That means that obviously sellers are having to accept concessions in order to sell their home. The market type right now would be considered balanced. However, because we are seeing those homes sit for almost 70 days on the market, we would say that this is still slightly buyer leaning, also because of the sale to list ratio that we discussed. Next up, let's talk through Miami. So, average home price in Miami is $615,000. This is actually down 6.4% year over year. P.S. If you're new here, a huge indicator that you are in a buyer's market is if home prices year over year have come down in the city that you were looking to buy in. Okay. Now, average days on market here is 115 days. That is a long time. I've done a lot of videos on my TikTok page where we talk about just like Florida as a market. There's just been a crazy amount of change going on. So the list versus sell ratio right now is 93.4%, which again means that there's a good amount of sellers that are having to give concessions and that are having to lower their purchase price in order to be able to sell. 8,869 homes are currently available in this market. Market type, technically, what we would say is because of the longer days on market and because we've seen that pretty big discount. So, again, only the 93.4% sale to list ratio, we would probably actually consider Miami to be a buyer's market. All right, next up, let's talk about Brevard County. This also can include Space Coast, but let's just go like big Brevard County. So home price here average is $360,000. The year over year change on this is actually down by 0.52%. So a little less than 1%. Home prices have come down. That's not a major crash, but it's definitely something to keep note of. The average days on market here, 86 days. 86. Honestly, anything over 60 days is pretty indicative that you are likely in a buyer's market. Inventory here right now, 6,268 homes are actively for sale. List versus sale ratio, 96.7%. Okay, so some concessions still definitely happening. The market type here, again, we wouldn't say it's a crazy buyer's market because prices haven't like bottomed out and technically days on market are still under 90. But when you add home prices have actually dropped, days on market are sitting at 86 and the list versus sell ratio is only 96.7. This is definitely a buyer leaning market. Okay. Let's talk about Jacksonville. All right. So Jacksonville, Florida, home price here average $282,000. This is down about 4.4% year over year. So again, anytime we see home prices coming down, big indicator, right, that is a buyer's market. Days on market here, 85 is the average. Current inventory of active homes that are currently listed, 4,737 homes. List versus sale ratio right now is 95.9%. Okay. Market type. Again, let's add it up. Year over year, prices have dropped. Average days on market is 85. List versus sell is at 95.9. This is definitely a buyer leaning market because of those three things added together. Okay. Let's talk about Pensacola. Pensacola, average home price, $355,000. This is actually up 7% year over year. Okay. So a jump. Interestingly, though, days on market here is 103 days. All right. List versus sell ratio here is only 94.6, which means that, again, more sellers here are having to come down on their list price to be able to sell their home. Inventory right now, active listings available, 1,787. Market type here, because we have days on market at 103, right? And because technically the list versus sell ratio is below 95%, you add those two things together, definitely would say this is more of a buyer's market. As a PS, if you're new here, just something to know, every home has its own story. So a home that's been listed for 75 days on the market is going to have a different journey than a home that's only been listed for 2 days on the market. So just keep in mind when we strategize together on how you want to approach purchasing a home, we will talk through those things and keep those things in mind. All right, let's talk about St. Petersburg. Okay. Home price here average $529,000. The days on market here is on average 59 days. Active inventory is about 2,666 homes. List versus sale, 96% sale to list ratio. Okay. Now, market type here, we would actually say is still competitive, but the average home value has actually decreased about 9.1% compared to the past year in St. Petersburg. All right. So that's a pretty substantial drop. When you add all those things together, the year over year pricing coming down, days on market being right under 60, and list versus sale ratio being 96%. Once again, we would say definitely a balanced market, but leaning for the buyers, but there are still competitive pockets in this specific area. So keep that in mind. Okay. Broadly, just like big picture, Florida is expected to have some cool to moderate growth in 2026. This typically means less frantic housing behavior than the 2021 to 2024 vibe. So, big picture, we've got a lot of things happening in Florida. I would say that Florida is one of the more interesting markets to buy in. Something that I do with every single client that I work with, we are going to be looking at the specific location in Florida you want to buy in, what is going on, what specifically is happening there, things that you should be aware of, and specifically how that's going to impact you as a buyer looking to purchase in any of these places. Okay. If you are interested in making a personalized plan and strategy based on your numbers, your goals, your finances, links all below this video are going to show you the best way to get a hold of me. You can text my team or I anytime if you have any specific questions for us. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys next month to give our March Florida housing market update.